right, 8:30 on the dot. How's everyone doing? Thank you for joining us here today. Daniel Forte, Access Control Manager here at Controlled Products, joined by Himanshu Kaplash, Product Manager at LiftMaster. We are today going to go over some of the connectivity challenges that we're seeing in the market in relation to the LiftMaster Smart Video Intercoms. We are also going to dive into some of the solutions that CPSG offers for these applications. We move the slide forward if you could, Himanshu.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go over the connectivity options, and then also, some new features or firmware sets that allow us to put these units in low data mode. And then we'll close it out here by going over the new Smart Video Intercom L, aka CAPXLV2. Really cool to see this year and everything that's happened with LiftMaster. We've seen some new features, tons of them. I'll kind of hit like the ones that are really high level to me, but we added the Bluetooth readers earlier in the year with the Bluetooth mobile app, right? So you could use your phone as a credential. We've also added things like geofencing that can be attached to, guest passes. So they have to be within a certain proximity. Just constantly seeing this, system evolve, really that back end of it. And, we are now seeing a new piece of slick hardware that's coming out here on, I believe, December 1st is our launch.
That's right.
So couple quick things. This is being recorded. So if you're uncomfortable with that, go ahead, feel free to jump off. Everyone will receive a recording at the end of this who signed up for the webinar. And then in relation to questions, we'll open it up at the end for questions. But if you have questions as we're going through this, feel free to put them in the chat box. That will be monitored by Rebecca Peterson with LiftMaster and Zach Eichenberger with Controlled Products.
Thank you, Daniel. Before you guys kick off, I just wanted to say a couple words. This is Rebecca Peterson, the Director of Product here at Access Control at LiftMaster. I'm really excited for CPSG to host us here today. We've been, as Daniel mentioned, releasing a lot of improvements in our product line, but we're really excited to give you a taste of the next generation of our largest video intercom. This has been 3 years in the work as we've been releasing the CAPXM, the CAPXS, and now the last, largest intercom in our platform. So really excited to be here. As I mentioned before, go through the webinar as you have questions. I'm going to be moderating the chat and answering as much as we can. But at the end, of course, we're going to leave time for Q&A. So with that, Daniel, go ahead and kick it off.
All right, perfect. Himanshu, let's take over. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
So challenges in the market. The things that we've been hearing, for years at this point in relation to, when CAPXL first launched and then CAPXLV and all the other units, some of the challenges we run into, retrofit versus new, what are my infrastructure in an existing situation or even a, new construction, making sure we're getting that correct out of the gate, the expenses in entrenching Ethernet, right, from the network room, those sort of things. Network IT challenges. We have, complex setups. Sometimes we're working in secure environments. We have to make sure that things are, taken care of ahead of time, and make sure we're prepped and setting ourselves up for success when we go out to install the unit. Are we sharing this network across systems? Are we sharing with, cameras, other sort of devices? What are the data requirements, that sort of stuff. We've come up with solutions. There's, point-to-point bridges. I won't beat this one up too much on this slide. We'll go into this a little more detail. Wi-Fi signal boosters, because these units all do run on Wi-Fi with the exception of, the CAP2D, the two-door controller. All the intercoms can reliably run on Wi-Fi. We've done it successfully many times. And then cellular modems, and that's a big part of what we'll be here to talk about. So I won't go into that on this slide too deep, but just know that, we were consuming about 10 gigs, 20 gigs a month for a single family behind a gate. This was just, as of a few months ago, right, Himanshu?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be talking about the improvements we have done and what changes we have done.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that have happened here that have really made cellular an option for you when it comes to this product line. So if we can move to the next slide. So the options, beyond our standard Ethernet or Wi-Fi connections, which are, means we connect these all the time by, Controlled Products a few years back brought on, wireless Ethernet bridges. So people refer to them as Ubiquity. We sell other brands, LegoWave. I'm not very brand specific when it comes to this, but the benefits are the same from brand to brand. And really, it reduces the trenching that you have to do almost sometimes to nothing, right? So it reduces labor costs dramatically in a reliable fashion. Long range, right? So we can get out there, we can far exceed the standard Ethernet run of 328 feet. I mean, some of these things are rated for miles line of sight. We successfully do it all the time, 1,000 feet, 1,400 feet with a little bit of obstruction. Obviously, say that with caution because we are going to want to test these things as we go forward. It's not one of those things I say, throw them out there. But successfully, we've gone through walls and, not miles, but thousands of feet. Super reliable product. At this point, Control Products has sold over 1,200 units with very limited product failures. Not to say that we haven't had some issues along the way in relation to resetting units, stuff like that, but actual true failures of product were in the teens. And then Control Products, the kits that we sell, they're all pre-configured. If you've met me going around the country doing trainings, I tell you, if you get a set of bridges from us and they're not taped together and bundled, return them. These things are pre-configured, lick and stick, plug and play installations. So really takes any of the setup out of the way and, can save you considerable amount of time. Cellular routers, specifically RevGen Networks that we recently launched here, partnered up with really at Control Products. So what's unique about them is they have the multi-carrier technology. So working on AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, whichever one is best when you plug it in, it will connect to with 4G or 5G options. Really with the speeds that we require for these intercoms, we're recommending 4G minus some specific applications like inside of buildings with metal roofs, things like that it penetrates better. But for the most part, 4G will cover you. Web portal for activation on the RevGen. So there is a CPSG Connect web portal that you can click through and you can actually activate these routers without ever having to go to a store. You go on there, you sign in with your dealer account. You can actually select a plan, activate it, and have your router up and running within an hour, during business hours, 24 hours if you do it after hours. High data plans, that's one of the biggest thing was, we want to be able to accommodate the full solution. So as we get into this webinar, you'll see more about what LiftMaster's done to reduce these data consumption. But we also have the ability, if they do want to keep all the features, longer video clips, things of that nature, where we can provide a high data plan at an affordable cost. So, and these are dealer discounted rates and they're hidden behind a login. So this isn't stuff that's publicized. So these are rates that if you are in the business of rebilling, you can actually potentially double up, make some money on top of another form of RMR. And then we do also offer through them universal SIM cards and routers that are available for low data applications. So situations where we're using a CAP2D or a CAPXS on a single family resident. I mean, the CAP2D just doesn't require, even in a busy application, a ton of data. But a CAPXS on a single family resident, 1 to 3 gigs, we can provide that through our universal SIM cards and routers that plug into those. And then another unique one that we, let me take a step back here on the cellular piece of it. The one thing about the cellular, and Zach always points this one out, is that you can really predict your install. No waiting on the ISP to come install. I've actually had a few sold recently where they had been waiting months for the ISP to drop internet at the gate. And finally, they just took control of their own install. They don't have to worry about any elaborate networks. They can go ahead and predict that they're going to have internet at the site just by activating this router and putting it out there. And then jumping over to the 2-wire PoE converter, used far less than our other solutions, but is such a great solution when it's needed, where we're in an old building, a situation where we're not going to be able to run new wire, pull new wire. Wi-Fi is just not going to make it. It's a concrete building. Ubiquity or legal wave may be a struggle. If we have 2 solid pieces of wire, not solid, but 2 complete pieces of wire that aren't broken, we can run network to these devices over 2 wires and convert it back to Ethernet on the other side. We've done it a handful of times where we're combining them with each other. So we've done Ethernet bridges, then 2-wire across the road to get over to the intercom. We've done cellular shooting, ubiquities or 2-wire out of it. So these things, you don't got to think of them as a single solution. They can actually be tied together to make an install easy and bring down labor cost. Hardware goes up a little, but labor dramatically reduced. We offer options for the 2-wire PoE at Controlled Products here that can go up to 280 feet. And then we have another option that can go 1,000 feet. If you get into the world of needing more than that, you reach out to the CPSG connectivity team, and we can also point you in the directions of a couple other devices. One thing to note is it does require PoE. Now, currently the intercoms do not power up off of PoE, but you could, in theory, if you use a 2-wire PoE converter, be also powering up a CAP2D. On here, I think at this point, I'm handing it over to you, Himanshu, right?
I think there was another slide if you want to go through that. But
yeah. No, you're correct. No, we'll go through that quickly.
Let me say one thing, Daniel. I mean, kudos to the CPSG team. Like, connectivity in general has been a challenge for, multifamily and, connecting all these high data devices like a video intercom. And like the approach you guys have taken in providing a holistic solution to your customers, like it, goes to show the innovation that your team is doing, all the way from, solving for Wi-Fi to cellular. So we are pretty excited about, partnering with you there.
Yeah, and one thing I skipped over there was that you have that Wi-Fi on that RevGen there available too. So that's an option there. You have the remote management, and you could, manage these things and change settings remotely too. So I just noticed that as you went back, but you can go ahead and move forward on it.
Oh, cool.
So just quickly, don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but the access team / connectivity team is just come up with some best practices, and tips for success and taking control of your installations, and, speed test, method of connection on site. So whatever that's going to be, if it's cellular, Wi-Fi, you want to go to that point where that intercom is, and you want to run a speed test just to set yourself up for success. The intercoms are 5 up, 5 down is what we're looking for per intercom on site. So it's one of those things that we should always be doing is a speed test there, just to make sure that you're going to have a successful install. We prefer that you populate data into the web portal before the install date, so we're not, on site trying to get it up and running. And what goes with that too is a bench test of the equipment before the installation. So if you can get it pre-populated and test this thing on your bench, make sure the card readers are working, make sure the radio receivers are working, whatever it is, everything clicks and clacks. That if you go on site and it's not working, it takes the guesswork out of having to troubleshoot. Am I dealing with an equipment issue? Is this a site related issue? That sort of thing. So these are things that can make, some of these installs almost drive by in a sense. I always say to get the accounts activated a week before the install. And reason being is we get into these situations where communities decide that they potentially want to, apply for terms and pay on a net. They don't have the ability to pay by credit card. They don't have the ability to do an ACH. So you just want to make sure that all that's ironed out, so you're not hanging a piece of equipment that actually can't be turned on that day. Rolling out app license in batches. This is just kind of one of my own that I prefer, is that if we're going into a community, and we did this recently where we're rolling out 1,500 apps, we're going to start with a batch of people and go step by step. So that way we're not taking on, calls from end users, 1,000 at a time. We're doing them handfuls at a time. And then, provide end user with MyQ port information, which is a document that LiftMaster has. We can provide it here at Control Products. But essentially, when you're going into a secure application, like a corporate environment, or even dealing with some of these, obscure ISPs that are satelliting internet into a site, well, they'll have blocks on those routers. So we want to make sure that we get those ports opened up before we're on site. That way we're not dealing with that once the equipment is installed. And then just a couple tools. You guys have a million tools on your truck, but things that if you're going to be in this business, you probably need to have, a cable tester. We always want to make sure we got good cables, and it takes some of the troubleshooting out of it. But the big one too is that if these cables are shorted or crossed, they could potentially reset some network devices like wireless bridges, some settings on other devices. And that's a big waste of time having to work backwards when you had a good product that we could have just easily 2-second tested a cable and made sure we had success. RJ45 crimp tool. I prefer pass through. If you love your standard, go for it. It's just something you're going to want to have on the truck. When out in the field installing these laptops and tablets, they're like your meters. You still bring your voltage meter with you, but we need a laptop and a tablet in order to be successful out in the field and get you through any potential network issues, things of those nature. So we also prefer that you have store-bought patch cables to test with in all various lengths, right? If we need to go around and figure out if we have a cable issue, something of that nature, it just makes it a lot easier to know that you have a known good cable we could run above ground. Obviously, you can't run those heads through conduit, so you got to run, your Cat 6, your Cat 5, and crimp them down on the other end. But if we have those cables, we can make sure that we're successful in testing. And then more recently, an Ethernet to USB or Ethernet to Lightning adapters. One of those tools we really prefer. That there are things we need our laptop for because we need a full screen when we're on site. But speed tests, just making sure internet's there, we can do that, with our phones. We put them in airplane mode. We tap these devices in, plug an Ethernet in, and we're off and running. We can see if we have a network set up and we're running at a good speed. So just a couple little tools that we've added to our toolbox over the last few years.
Yeah, and Daniel, I do have some update on the speed test on the panel, some exciting news, which I will share later on. But I think this is a good set of tools and recommendations to have a successful install. So yeah, it was pretty detailed.
All right, you can move on.
So let me take from there. I'm hoping many of you are already aware of LiftMaster Smart Video Intercom. So what I wanted to do today, given what you just learned from Daniel about all the challenges in the marketing around connectivity and some of the solutions that CPSG is providing, the next part of the presentation, I'll be walking through how do these solutions connect to LiftMaster, like our Smart Video Intercoms. And then after that, I want to introduce CAPXLV2, which is our newest Smart Video Intercom that is launching this Friday. So while we have attention from all of you guys, we would love to introduce some of the things that we are doing with our video intercoms, the latest one, to make your job much easier. So starting with connectivity first, there are three ways to connect a LiftMaster Smart Video Intercom, right? So there is Ethernet, which is always preferred because it's wired, and we can say that it's the most reliable internet connection. We recommend to utilize a Cat 6e or better cable, which has shielding. It's better for noise protection, etc. And then some best practices: never connect a router to another router. It just creates more noise in the system and more data hog that can impact it. But Ethernet is the most preferred way because it's wired. However, as Daniel was highlighting, there are places where Ethernet may not be an option, right? So it could be an install on a gate, which is half a mile or a really, really far away from the house, and there is no way you can have a wired connection there. Or it could be a retro building, a really, really old building that it's just not feasible to lay down a wire there. People use Wi-Fi in those cases, and Wi-Fi is a very stable technology. We use on our laptops, on our phones. CAP products have a built-in Wi-Fi chipset, which means you do not have to have additional equipment to enable Wi-Fi. And then, so all the other best practices related to Wi-Fi, as long as you're making sure of that, the signal strength at the install site is good. And then, if it is not, then we do provide external antennas that you can connect for longer range. But just doing a sanity check around Wi-Fi is important. And I will be sharing some of the new tools that we are launching to kind of make these kind of installs even easier. But that's one option that a lot of our customers use. And then, of course, you have cellular modems. CAPEX products are agnostic to carrier, right? So we work with any cell provider and modem as long as it has an Ethernet output or a Wi-Fi output. you can connect them to our modem. So that's where the beauty of the flexibility of our solution comes in, that it can work with, say, a RevGen solution from CPSG, or like other solutions which may be out there in the market. One feedback we have gotten when people connect our intercoms to cellular, and there are like tens, if not like hundreds of installations already, people deploying like cellular with our intercoms, is that how do we make sure that the data consumption on these cellular plans is minimal, right? So that's something that I will be sharing with you. Like, we have a new mode that I'm very excited to release today, and then talk to you guys about. So this new mode is called, we are calling it the low data mode. So think of it as a mode that you would want to switch on whenever you want the intercom to use less data, because intercom is consuming a lot of data. There are a lot of configuration files going back and forth. All the video calls take data, but predominantly where the data consumption is done for LiftMaster intercoms is around those video storage, right? So anytime people are accessing our intercom, opening the door, putting an entry code, trying to call someone, we do record like a 30-second video clip of that event and then store it on the cloud, so that a property manager can come anytime in case of any incident and can review who was there, what was happening on the door, which is a feature that most of our customers really, really love having. It just gives them the visibility and like security for their building. So with this new low data mode, what we are doing is we are shortening the length of the recorded video. So by going from 30 seconds to 6 seconds, we are able to provide a lot of data savings for things like cellular. And in this table here, I do have some numbers for you to just get a sense of how much data saving is there. Again, I would say the data consumption would really depend on your site, how much the site is used, how many people live in that building. But these are like just some examples of monthly consumptions. So for example, a CAPXLV unit installed on a 5-unit build apartment, right? A small apartment with 5 families living in it. If in a regular mode, we consume around 15 gigabyte a month. With this, once you enable this low data mode, it goes down to only 5 gigabytes. So there's a significant reduction in the data over there. And you can see as you add the number of units, or which is to say, as more and more interaction happens on your intercom, the saving is even more higher. So for example, if you have a CAPXLV or a CAPXLV2 on, say, a 30-unit garden style community, right? So there are like 300 units, 300 houses in a garden style community. If in a regular mode, we consume around 500 gigabyte a month, which is fine if you have an Ethernet or a Wi-Fi. But if you enable a low data mode, that goes down to closer to 50 gigabytes. So you can see it's like 10x improvement in the amount of data that is consumed. So we are highly recommending that you update your firmware to the latest firmware, which is 4.4.0 for CAPXM and CAPXS. And then for our CAPXLV, it's 3.4.3 firmware. So once you update that, you will see the low data mode option available to you, and then you can switch it on. So again, like, highly recommend that for any cellular installs or any place where you would want to save on data. So how do you enable low data mode? It's pretty easy. So again, by default, you will be in the default mode, right? Which is what people are experiencing today. And if you want to enable low data mode, you just go to your admin screen, right? And there are different ways to get into admin screen for CAPXLV, CAPXM, and CAPXS. I'm laying that down here. But once you go into the admin screen and go to the network section, you will see a new tab called network bandwidth, which will have a low data mode toggle switch. So you just switch it on. and that's it. You are in low data mode. And once you switch it on, you don't have to switch it on again. It will remain switch it on, and all the video clips will be 6 seconds and saving you all that data going forward. So it's pretty simple from the admin mode, just a few clicks, and you can enable the low data mode from that. You cannot currently enable low data mode from MyQ. So that's something that people have asked us. This is only through the admin screen. But in our experience, most of the times, if say you are putting cellular, you are doing it at an install time. So as long as you enable this mode during the installation on the screen, you should be good to go. Okay. I'll keep going, but if you guys have questions, please throw it in the chat. And Rebecca, please feel free to stop me at any point. Okay, so that was about connectivity and low data mode. I also wanted to take this opportunity to talk about our latest generation of Smart Video Intercom, which is what we are calling CAPXLV2, which we have launched a couple of months back. We did like a webinar, a product webinar on that as well. The product is ready to ship this Friday. So if you have not put your pre-orders now, please do it now. And then, we'll start shipping them by end of this week. But I wanted to go through some of the features and benefits of CAPXLV2. I'll be going quickly through the presentation. My goal is to give you a sense of what CAPXLV2 is, and then we'll have a deeper technical and product presentations later in the year as well. So yeah, so to begin, why we even created CAPXLV2, this is a slide that shows the journey LiftMaster and we all are on, right? So our vision is any access point, a single app for resident, and a single dashboard for community managers is all you need to manage any access point. So whether it's your front door on the peripheral, whether it's like door inside the unit, whether it's a pool, whether it's like a gate, next to a gated style community. So any access point, we want to provide like a single point of experience for residents and community managers. And we are on this journey from like decades ago, right? So around 1997 is when LiftMaster introduced their first product called Centex. So that was our first foray into creating intercoms. And ever since then, we have able to make like significant progression every couple of years. So in 2017, we launched our smart door controller, which is called CAP2D. So that is for remotely unlocking the door using the app. And then in 2018, we launched CAPXL, right? So that's our current large screen intercom, which we introduced in 2018. So it has been over like 5 years right now. And we created that for like bigger apartments, right? So bigger apartments, more than 50 unit and gated style communities. And in 2021 is when we revamped our MyQ community software, basically looking at every touch point that a resident or a community manager has with our product, and how do we modernize it, right? How do we provide this modern app experience and a modern web experience that people are expected to have, honestly, these days in this world where everything is beautiful looking, intuitive, and just works all the way from app to web. And we even have a smart watch app which people can use today. So that's a time when we really looked at user experience and started thinking about how do we enhance the user experience of everyone touching our products. So also in 2021, that's the reason we introduced CAPXM, right? So CAPXM was the first intercom in the series of intercom, which had like a beautiful design. It looked modern. People want to put these devices on their buildings or in front of their houses. And CAPXM was really geared towards 10 to like 50 unit buildings, like mid-size buildings. And then next year we followed up with the same design, that people were really liking, but for smaller apartments. So these are like anywhere between 2 to 9 unit apartments with a product called CAPXS, right? So that was things on the hardware side, but we have been making progress on the software side as well, integrating with RealPage, Entrata, Yardi, pretty much all the top players in the property management software industry, so that if people are already using these solutions, integrating with LiftMaster is very seamless, right? And the setup is very fast. All the resident information seamlessly flow in, so the setup time is also very less. So that's something that we worked on a couple of years, and we continue to add more and more partners in that integration. And I think, as Dan was highlighting earlier this year, we introduced our Bluetooth reader called LiftMaster Smart Reader. So this was our way to provide a modern experience, a keyless experience to our residents, where people can use the Bluetooth on their smartphone and just interact with the reader versus, say, a regular fob or other methods. So that's the journey we are on at, and that's the reason why we are creating CAPXLV2. So CAPXLV2 is targeted towards larger apartments and garden style properties. It will be a replacement of our existing product, which is CAPXLV. And then again, our whole goal is to provide that modern, intuitive experience to our residents, our community managers, and our guests. So let's get into CAPXLV2 a little bit more. And yeah, here is another view of all our intercoms. It actually looks like a family, all modern looking design, all the way from CAPXS, which is the list price of $1,299, CAPXM, which is a list price of $3,000, and to list price of $550 for CAPXLV2. And for people who have already working on CAPXLV2, you will note that we are not changing the list price for our product, which is like a really amazing news. Like, it hardly happens that a company is able to provide so much value to the market for the same price as the old product. So that's something that our engineering team has been able to deliver on, and then we are able to bring this all these innovation, which I will be talking about, at the same list price as the product before. Also to note, all of these products going forward are leveraging common hardware design. They will be using common firmware design, so that extends any learning from any of this product to apply everywhere. But as well as making our support streamlined for you guys. And there are many benefits of a common architecture that we are able to leverage with the introduction of CAPXLV2 now. Okay, so just an overview of what I will cover now for CAPXLV2. I want to talk about the design, some of the input outputs that we are providing on CAPXLV2, connectivity options. I have already covered some of these, so I'll kind of brief through that. Power, how do you provide power to CAPXLV2? And some things around our software, which I'll close that with. So first, the design. CAPXLV2 is a rugged design with like a modern, sophisticated look. It looks modern. It looks beautiful. This same design is carried over from CAPXM and CAPXS, which have won many industry awards. Good design is one award that we have won, but there are like other awards that we continue to win as a whole solution. Because our focus is on user experience. That's something we are bringing to this market, is focus on like a beautifully designed user experience. And then it's a 10-inch touchscreen with a color display. The camera is a 1080p night vision camera. And then something that was not there on our previous product, which was CAPXLV. With CAPXLV2, we are able to provide IP54 weatherproof rating and IK07 impact rating. So these are just industry level standards that we have to meet to say that we are weatherproof, right? So we do a lot of rainwater tests and humidity tests, so that we account for rusts We spray like fast water on these kind of devices. So we have to follow a very stringent set of testing to be able to comply with this impact rating and weatherproof rating. And that's something that our team has been able to deliver to this market with CAPXLV2. So very excited about the robustness and the reliability that the product will be able to bring to the market. So that's a little bit on the hardware side. We have made significant changes on the software side as well. And that's something I wanted to talk specifically to this audience about, because you will see like the approach we have taken with launch of CAPXLV2 is we want our products to be your best friend, right? We know that you are always in time pressure. There are labor shortages. You are just moving from one install to another install. How do we make it easier for you to install these devices and provide you with tools more proactively? That's kind of a product philosophy that we have built this product this within. And because CAPXLV2 is common with CAPXM and CAPXS, you will see all those improvements and learnings getting applied to our previous product as well. So a few things here. On CAPXLV2, it will have a larger font. That's something that many of you had requested. You wanted larger fonts. So that will be delivered. There will be on-screen volume control for the guest. Our intercoms are placed in different situations, sometimes like next to maybe a noisy road, or maybe there's a guest who would want to hear like a little louder. So there will be like an on-screen volume control. The picture-in-picture is huge. One feedback that we have gotten is that with our picture-in-picture, it has helped with like vandalism prevention, right? Because if someone shows up and they see their own image on the screen, they think they're getting captured. And just the fact that they think they're being recorded, people are less motivated to do something foul at the property. So we will be able to provide a much larger picture-in-picture on the home screen for CAPXLV2 going forward. And then there are like diagnostics things that I wanted to talk about specifically with you guys. So let me go deep into that. So here are some screenshots that you will see starting this Friday. One big update we are making is on our firmware update process. So the firmware update process now will give you cues into what actually is happening. So one feedback we got was we update the firmware. Sometimes it takes few minutes for the firmware to download to a panel and the panel to get updated. So how do we provide more visibility so that you are less anxious about what's happening and you exactly know where you are at in the process? So you will see like this firmware update progress bar going forward, which will show you is the download happening and also telling you the percentage of the download which has happened, for example. So you will be able to see clearly when the download finishes, when the actual device is being updated, the firmware is being updated. And then once that's updated, there will also be a queue on my queue to tell that the firmware is finished. So we are really excited to bring this feature so that you are more comfortable updating the firmware and you exactly know what's happening in the background and how much time will it take for the whole process to finish.
Thank you for that one. That's a big wish that just got answered for me that I didn't know was coming.
Okay.
And just so this is obviously coming out with XLV2, but we are also bringing this to XM and XS as well. So we have a big firmware release on those two panels coming out next week. So this feature will be available across all of them, except for the legacy CAPXLV.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so another good thing that I wanted to talk about was speed tests, right? So we are making like improvements around connectivity, right? I already talked about low data mode and how it will make connecting a cellular more easier, right? But we are introducing a speed test button right on the panel. So I think Daniel talked about that the need for a laptop. You still would need a laptop if you want to debug like network related things. But if you want a laptop just for a speed test, now there will be a button right on the panel. So all you need to do is connect your panel to Wi-Fi or Ethernet, press this speed test button, and it will tell you the upload and the download speed that the panel is experiencing. So that's like one way we are making the installation a lot more easier for you guys. Not only that we are providing speed test, it will now going forward take a historical snapshot of the speed, right? So every so often in the day, we will be checking the speed and storing it for you. So I have like a snapshot of how it will look like, but you can see at 2 p.m. what was the speed, at like midnight what was the speed. And this is like really, really important, because what we heard from the our installing partners was communities will start using the same internet for other reasons, and then the intercom is not performing well, and then all those calls will come to you guys, right? And then you have no clue because someone was watching Netflix on the same account at 5 p.m. So with this speed history, you will be clearly able to see what was happening in the past couple of days with this internet. And these are two ways with which we are making connectivity a lot more easier and intuitive to debug and install for you guys. So these are like some basic tests. There will be a lot more in-depth tests available on the panel with respect to diagnostics. There will be pinging. We will be checking connection to internet in general, but to like the MyQ servers, and giving you a log file with all those reports. Many of these may or may not make sense for you. I know some of you guys are geeks out there and you would want to read all the reports. But the predominant user for these is our support team, because we are taking the guesswork out of what actually is happening on the network. So next time, God forbid, there is a connectivity related issues, speed is working fine, we will be able to quickly help you guys with exact diagnostics, because we have all these tools available on the panel now. So again, like another step improvement in connectivity and making connectivity a lot more easier and seamless for you. Okay, so now that we have talked about connectivity, next I wanted to talk about I/O, right? So which is the input output with respect to CAPXLV2. So CAPXLV2, as I would like to call it, is the most flexible product that we have ever built for inputs and outputs. So if you imagine like a regular entrance of a building, there are many, many requirements for a building, right? You would need readers for card credentials. There's a postal lock involved. People install knockbox for emergency services. There may be RECs for motion detection. And there may be like other things as well, which all required to be triggered, with a device, with an access control device. And similarly, on the output side, you may, a building may have an alarm system. You may have a door strike. You may have a secondary entrance that opens to a package room. You may have elevators, right? So especially in urban areas, there's a main door, but then there are elevators behind it, and you want to control the elevator from there. So thinking about like just a common entrance of a building or a gated community, there are a lot more complications that can arise with all these input and output. So what we did was we listened to the market, and we built in something called advanced configuration that I will be talking through for CAPXLV2, that provides you flexibility to adapt this device for any and every scenario with respect to access control on a bigger property or garden style community. So the way we are able to do that is by breaking the input and output, right? So what do I mean by breaking input and output? Let me go to the next slide and then I'll come back here. So the image on the left here you see is the old door controller board. You can see that one of the relay is connected to only one input, right? So there was one-to-one mapping. So input 1 was connected to output 1. So that mapping was always fixed. And because of that, like if there is any advanced kind of mapping you need, say you want to connect your RECs and your postal locks, to a specific output, say your door strike, how would you do that? Like it was harder to do in the previous version of CAPXLV. But with CAPXLV2, we have taken that apart. So you will see that there are only something called Relay 1 and Relay 2 and Relay 3, Relay 4, and Weekend 1. So by doing it this way, like we have broken that input and output mapping and given that power to you guys, right? So if you want one input to control two output, you can do that. If you want multiple inputs to be able to control a single output, you can do that too. So all of that is now controlled through our MyQ dashboard in the advanced configuration. I won't go into details here because we would want to do a technical training with you guys, but this is just to give you a sense of how it will work. From the MyQ, there are all these access points now available to you, and you can connect various inputs and outputs to each of these access points. So that is how we are able to provide flexibility for advanced access control solutions that honestly many of our advanced users have been asking for a while, and we are able to provide this now. I also do want to mention, if you do not want this complication, you say just one input to one output mapping is good enough for you, that is basic configuration. So you don't have to do anything. All of the mapping that exists today will just be available with basic configuration. But if you want to do something advanced, all those options are available for you. And not only on MyQ, you will be able to see all that mapping right on the panel. So that's another important feature that we have added, going to our product philosophy of how do we make it easier for you folks to install our devices. This access point to input and output mapping will be available on the panel now. So no more calling your MyQ guy to say, hey, where should the wires go? And, access point is connected to 1 or 2. There was always this confusion around the person who is managing MyQ versus the person who is actually doing the wiring. So with this thing available on the panel, you can just go and check, what you need to do, and it will make the installation a lot more easier as well. Okay, and again, my goal was to give you a brief of what's coming. I would highly recommend to go through a technical training where we will talk a lot more in depth about advanced configuration. The other new thing which is coming with CAPXLV2 is OSDP. So for those who do not know what is OSDP, it's Open Supervised Device Protocol. It's the next generation of device-to-device communication protocol created by the industry standards body called SIA. So think of it as like a more modern, secure way with which two devices will communicate to each other. It's more, and that's why it is more secure than Weekend, which has been there for like many decades. You must have been reading like articles as well. Like Weekend is a lot less encrypted and a lot less protected. So that is the whole reason why industry created OSDP. So OSDP has been there for a while in like some market, but in multifamily space, we are probably the first ones to bring it on an intercom. And just providing this next level of security for all our devices is something that we felt was very important, and that's why we are introducing OSDP. So here is a quick snapshot of what is difference between Weekend and OSDP. So with respect to communication, Weekend is one way, right? So an intercom can just tell like one way, and communicate via Weekend. But with OSDP, it is bidirectional. And the biggest value there is now a reader can communicate back to the intercom its firmware version, for example, or whether it's working or not. So right through the panel, you can see if all your readers are working properly. You can push a firmware update to all these readers right from the panel. So there are all these, installer specific advantages that come with bidirectionality of OSDP. And not to mention it's more secure because it's both these devices are always communicating with each other and making sure they are online. The other big thing is distance, right? So Weekend was limited to 150 meters, but anything if you wanted to go beyond that, say if you have a reader, I don't know, next to the lobby or like a guest area, which was say 1,000 meters away, OSDP is the solution for there. So OSDP can go up to 1,000 meters, which Weekend could not go in the past. I already talked about security. All the data is encrypted on OSDP. So it actually works like an internet where it's hard to do a man-in-the-middle attack and try to hack into a system because everything is encrypted. There are changes around cabling. Weekend relied on copper mostly, but with OSDP, you're able to use TCP/IP, serial, UTP. Like there are multiple cabling options available. And then topology is another big one, right? So with Weekend, it's one-to-one or point-to-point topology. So every reader, if you had to connect to an intercom, has to have a one-to-one mapping. And you can think about how much wiring you guys have to do today to, say, even connect four readers. But with OSDP, it is multi-point, right? So on a single piece of wire, you can connect multiple readers, and they will all just work because they work on the same bus, so they are able to use the same wire. It's not daisy chain, right? It's not like Christmas lights where one light goes out, all of the Christmas lights goes out. It is multi-point. So even if one reader goes out, all the other readers continue to function on like a single wire. So think about like how less wiring OSDP requires. It's like the savings there are phenomenal. Again, something that I would recommend us to cover in our technical training. We have like a deep dive on OSDP and how to connect them. But that's, this is something we are really, really excited to bring to the market, like this next level of security, for multifamilies.
And Himanshu, just because we're like at 10 minutes left. One thing to note is one of the reasons why we launched our line of smart readers is because they're capable of supporting OSDP. So if you are already using the LiftMaster smart readers with our CAPXLV, you've now enabled that whole capability with our line of smart readers.
Yep. Okay, connectivity I already talked about. I'll skip through that, but CAPXLV2 also supports Ethernet, Wi-Fi. We will have the low data mode for CAPXLV2 available as well. So next is radio. So all our intercoms, including our CAPXLV2, have 3 built-in radios. So one is for Security Plus 2.0. So these are like for all our passport receivers and keychain remote controls. So we have a built-in radio for that. Of course, we already talked about Wi-Fi. And then we also have like a radio for our gates. So we have a 900 megahertz channel, which is kind of a proprietary channel for LiftMaster, through which we are able to communicate between our intercom and our gates. So the value here is it's a wireless connection, right? So you do not need any sorts of wiring between the gate operator and intercom to use this feature. And LiftMaster is the only manufacturer that is able to do this wirelessly. So no need to direct trenches, no need for additional wiring. And again, goes to the point, like how do we make the installation much more faster, much more easier for you? Like by doing this wirelessly, you are just able to install an intercom, configure with the gate operator, and boom, you're good to go. And not only the connection, but the notification. So there are over 50 different notifications from a gate operator, that gets communicated back to our system on the intercom and MyQ. So what exactly is happening on the gate? Is it giving any error code, etc.? All those diagnostics and notifications are available because they are connected wirelessly, and then you're able to get all that value. So again, like that's something that more and more of our customers have started realizing is how easy it is to connect a LiftMaster gate operator with a LiftMaster intercom, because we have built both these solutions with interoperability in mind and compatibility in mind. Okay, so next I wanted to talk about power, and I think I just have 2 topics left. We will be providing like AC power supply, of course, just the way we do that for all our devices. But with CAPXLV2, now we are also providing power over Ethernet, which is also called PoE. So for those who do not know PoE enables to carry power and internet on the same wire. So just on that same Ethernet cable, you're able to deliver power as well. So if you do not have power on a place where intercom is available, but you just have an Ethernet port, you're able to do that. Of course, you need to take care of few things. The biggest thing is that you need to have a router which is PoE compliant, right? So you need a Type 3 60-watt router. So that's the max power supply, which needs to be available. All this information is available on your installation manual, and we will be covering that in the technical training as well. But I wanted to highlight that with CAPXLV2 is the first time that our intercoms will have PoE. That's something a lot of people have asked us about. So again, like that's something where we have listened to the market and deliver value to you folks. Okay. And lastly, accessories, right? So right at the launch, which is happening this Friday, you will have hoods, you will have trim kits available for CAPXLV2. So for anyone who needs like a trim kit or like hood or any dimensions required to that, please feel free to contact us or CPSG and they can ask us. But all of these accessories are also available at launch for CAPXLV2. Okay. So yeah, so that's kind of in summary for CAPXLV2. It's a rugged modern design with intuitive user experience. We are able to provide 8 different access points on CAPXLV2, which is double than what we had on CAPXLV. Rich diagnostics for technicians, and I cannot tell you how much excited we are to introduce all these new tools around speed test, seeing the mapping, etc., all the things that we have talked about to make your life easier. And then, yeah, it connects with Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and with cellular. And now you can power it with PoE. So all of that value, all these things I talked about for that same affordable price of $550, which is the list price of the old CAPXLV. So we are not changing the price of our device, and we are able to provide all this value. So I highly, highly recommend you to look at this product. Please contact us or CPSG if you guys have any questions, and we'll be happy to help you. Last note on CAPXLV. So support plan for CAPXLV, some of you guys have asked for this. We will be taking orders for our legacy CAPXLV up till the end of January. So another 2 months to go. Or if the inventory runs out sooner, will be that. So if you guys want to place any last minute CAPXLV orders, please do so. There is no change on our technical support. We will continue to support for any ongoing installation related questions, setup related questions. All of that is still there. We are doing like a last firmware push this Friday for CAPXLV. So we highly, highly recommend that all of your existing CAPXLVs, please update the firmware on them so that you are on the latest, greatest. After that, we will be doing a firmware update only on need basis, right? So we will see what the need is, and based on that, we will do that. But the frequency of firmware updates will slow down. On services, the parts and services are available for at least 3 years from now, right? So we are going above and beyond our warranty. So at least for 3 years, you will get all the service parts, replacement parts, all of that is available for CAPXLV. So if you have an install and you're worried about if you will have service parts, like we will have support for at least 3 years. And of course, we honor all the warranty, everything that already exists for CAPXLV. Okay, I think that was my last slide. No, I didn't get a time to address any question answer, Rebecca. Like, is there any
there's one more
questions?
slide, and I think it's kind of a recap of what you said, though, Himanshu.
Yeah.
And it's really about, we're really excited about this launch. As Himanshu mentioned, I mean, we've been working on this platform really for about 3+ years. And, we really made sure as we were working on this last one that we're bringing a lot of features that are needed, not just for now, but for the future. that we're also going to carry into our next gen door controller platform, which will be next on our list to go and tackle. But also the fact that we're able to bring all these amazing features, listening to what the market has been asking for, and keep that price the same. That was extremely important to us. So as mentioned, we're going to start shipping out the product on Friday. Very excited for that. If you have any needs, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to LiftMaster reps, reach out to myself or Himanshu. And of course, we've got Daniel and his team with the connectivity, team. So there's their email address. And of course, you can visit any of the CPSG branches that are fully stocked of our product line and really well informed of our product, and it can help you support any of the future projects.
All right, thank you guys. A lot of information packed in there, and it's really exciting to see these features, and you could kind of foresee what's going to happen in the future with the next gen of door panels and everything. So I'm excited to see what rolls out over the next year or two. We did have one question down here that wasn't addressed, and it's about the mounting pattern on the CAPXLV2. Is that set up to mount directly to like a gooseneck, or is that going to require an adapter of some sort?
No, it'll mount on our pedestals just like we have it today. So it matches the same physical footprint as the CAPXM as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, if there's no other questions, I'd be glad to wrap this one up. We really appreciate your guys' time and, the efforts you put into improving this line on the hardware side and software side.
Thank you for hosting us, Dan.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thank you.